And we are live.
Hello, beautiful people.
Hello, my lovelies. We are so super excited to see everyone. But I'm going to wait a second before we introduce our guest until some people arrive. We can keep the suspense going.
That helps.
That beautiful lady there at the bottom of the screen.
I know, right? They should be here because I know that a lot of people are very excited, and I've been pushing it, and I've been busy all day, messaging all my friends and
spreading the word. I'm gonna slip over here to Facebook real quick, and I'm going to do my shares. So
I see kitty cat ears.
You just see cat ears? Yeah, that's my boy. A little serious. All right, we are going to pull this up on. Yeah, I was mad at him yesterday. He has giant claws and giant feet.
Oops.
And he was on the bed and he caught his claw in one of my new sweaters. It is now no longer a new sweater.
Yeah. It's trouble with cat claws. Hi, Shelly.
Hi, Shelly. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie. Yes, good job, Debbie.
Sometimes we don't get their names, and so they just have to identify themselves.
I try to use my intuition. Sometimes I am right. I can guess like, oh, this is Debbie or this is Rick.
I bet more than sometimes.
All right, they're rolling in. Shelly, hello. As always, thank you. There is Billy.
Hi, Billy.
All right, I'm not doing my shares because I'm over here chit-chatting, so give me a second while I share out to the groups. All right, I'm just posting. I'm not even writing anything. Just posting it.
Yep.
It will just take me a minute. Sirius Black, you're being nudgy.
I know Loki's down here. I'm surprised he's not in mine. Usually he's crawling up on front of the screen.
Oh, yeah.
But he's
maybe he's maturing now that he's a big brother.
Yeah, maybe.
We can only hope, right?
We can only hope, right? Yeah. Izzy's upstairs. She's not happy, but
yeah,
she'll be all right. She's too little yet.
Lots and
How
lots.
old is she?
She's 12 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, 12 weeks. Yeah, she's still little, and
she's tiny.
She's my girl. Everywhere I go, I'm at. And then she's into everything. And then if I tell her no, she sasses me. So
I love it.
I know
that's a wiener dog thing.
But she's adorable, and she barks at me, and then she'll sit there and she'll talk to me. And I have a video. I tape recorded her one time, and I was like, "I love you, I love you," and I swear she said it back to me.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I was just so happy. But yeah,
almost done sharing.
I love my babies.
You do.
I do. I spoil them, but I love them so much. Mm-hmm. They're the only family besides my husband I have. So that's around me all the time. You know,
I was going to say, ma'am.
Well, it's around me.
Okay. All right. You know? All right. I'll let you get away with that.
And it's funny too, because they're very sensitive and they'll see and hear things like I do. And we'll hear.
Animals always do. Yeah.
And me and the dogs all look, and then I'll be like to my husband, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, "Hear what?" I'm like, "We all heard that." The dogs are still looking, so I know they still hear it. And yeah, it's funny.
All right, I was trying to find another page, but it doesn't appear to be available. So heck with that. We're getting back to where we're at. All right. Do we have any? Oh, I'm missing all kinds of comments.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Rick.
He was not missing today. He was very intimate about that. Hi, Mary Kay.
Hi, Miss Mary Kay. We can see your name. Good to see you. Thanks so much for stopping out to the event to get a reading. It was so nice to see you again. Rick, yeah, Rick's been waiting.
He has. He messaged me. He wasn't missing this.
Lynn, more tripping over the cat than Lynn. Lynn has got a cat. His name is Finnegan, and
Oh.
Finnegan makes my cat look small. Finnegan is ginormous. And when she got Finnegan, how her and I got really close was he was attacking her. She adopted him and he was attacking her. So I connected with him and found out that he had trauma. He had some past traumas and he was getting triggered by some things that she was doing. So I ended up using Reiki and working with him over distance. And now he is just this big, loving, fat cat that just lays around and eats treats all the time. That is his life now. So
I'll take that life.
yes, he has a good life. He has a good life.
Hi, Jeannie.
Hey, Jeannie, how
Yay,
are
you
you?
got to join us. Yay.
I'm not sure what that applies to. So maybe I missed something. Miss Tony, hello.
Hi,
Miss Tony is a psych nurse. So she is another friend of mine in the business. Thank you so much for joining. I know we miss each other a lot. Another one of my sisters, Miss Nancy Taylor. Good to see you, honey. Kirby is 18 pounds. Kirby is a big boy. Yes, Kirby's a big boy.
Karen, I think we're hearing some breathing on your end. At least I am. Yeah. Do you hear that, Sydney? Do you hear?
Don't hear it.
Oh,
I do hear it.
I hear stuff in the background.
Turn that thing off, honey. See if that's what it is. I have one of those my cauldron, the cauldron thing that lights up.
Oh, yeah, it could be that. 'Cause it kind of sounds like it went away.
Okay,
that's quiet on this end, so
well, that's good. At least you can hear. I'm like, there's something going on here. I mean, maybe it's me. Maybe it's around me.
Something. No. I was like, is Sirius breathing that hard? I'm sorry.
Maybe it's me. I thought, Karen, are you okay?
I'm good. I swear I'm fine. It's a little warm in here. I did have to crack a window. But I'm always warm.
Well, somebody else was hearing it too. So it wasn't just me. Thank you.
No, it's not just all in your head, darling.
Okay, yeah. Shelly, yeah. It's not happening here. So that's okay.
All right. We're good. We're good. Say hello to Sirius Black, everyone. Sirius is in the house. Oh, he's actually looking at the camera and he's like, nope. His bottom feet are going, nope, not happening.
For us.
Yeah, his little tongue hangs out because it's too big because he has these big giant fangs. All right. Well, Katrina, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Yes, I would love to. Everyone, please give a nice warm welcome to Sydney. And I'm going to hopefully get your last name right. I don't want to butcher it, but.
You want me to pronounce it?
Yeah, that'd be great if you could do that. If you could even introduce yourself and tell us about yourself a little bit.
Amicucci.
Amicucci. I would have got it right. I've been practicing. I'm like, it's Amicucci. I'm pretty good with names, but
yeah. You sent me a pronunciation that was not what you sent me.
I don't know. Maybe I had a typo in there, so it's probably a good thing that I pronounced.
Yeah, there was some extra letters in the one.
Like, whoa.
Well, my eyesight's terrible, so
that's okay. I forgive you. It's okay.
But yeah, Sydney is a wonderful person I've got to know over the years through Facebook. She lives in Erie, which isn't too far from me, and we have the same circle of friends. That's how we got connected. Actually, I think is through people we know. And I'll allow Sydney to introduce herself because she can do because she's got a long list of credentials. This woman has been practicing and has, a wonderful history and knowledge to share with us today.
Well, thank you. Well, number one, I'm in my 70s, and they said I don't look it, so thank you for that.
Not at all. We were all surprised. We're like, you're lying.
Well, me too. And I started off in the field of education and worked with high-risk kiddos ever since I was 20 years old, and then left the field of education. I was a teacher in California and an intuitive, and it used to scare people because I would say things before they happen and figured, well, didn't everybody tell me this? And then people would say, we didn't tell you this. And how do you know? I was like, uh-oh. And so it got me into a lot of mischief and trouble because I couldn't remember who said what, but they hadn't told me. So people figured out that there was, that there was something different. We all have that ability. My grandmother was a very well-known, she called people like you and me and a bunch of us out there, we're sensitives. We just know what we know because we know. It's a good way of explaining it. And now they call it psychic. When you look in, because my dad was he was going to be a Jesuit priest. So that's a whole different story until he met my mom. And that didn't go because he left. And obviously here I am. And so anyway, but it scared the heck out of him because I would know things ever since I was a little kid. And he's like, Sydney, don't do that. And what am I doing? I'm just being me. So they sent me to a child psychiatrist when I was like 12 years old, and I ended up doing a reading for her, which was a hoot.
Same here, exactly the same thing. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, right.
and they're like, you are one of those kids. And now they call those kids, crystal children, intuitives, empaths, all the different names. It's basically the same stuff. But I was one of those kiddos and just grew up that way. And like you probably too, a lot of you out there, when you have this, and we all have the gift, mine's on hyper speed because I had a near-death experience at age 36. So it's like, poof, it leveled everything up. But with that, the more you utilize that, it's like a muscle. And the more you do that and trust and have faith and realize that you get outside of yourself, you're going to get information on all sorts of things because it's been around you. I've been asked before, I've worked with the police department one time on, actually a couple cases to find people. I've worked as a medical empath. I still work with 3 doctors now. I won't mention names where they'll call and, hey, Sid, what are you getting on this? And I was in nursing for a minute and I went into that because using the hypnotherapy to help people, reduce the anxiety, especially pre and post surgery was really good. But then I would have an inkling, and I think you get this too, Katrina, where you get a feeling in your body and it's like, well, is it mine or somebody else's? So I always ask. And so I can generally tell what's going on. And then I don't treat, diagnose, or prescribe, but I can say, hey, you may want to check this. And I do that a lot, especially doing the hypnotherapy. Because when we're doing meditation, deep, profound prayer, you open up centers in the third eye and also the crown chakra, as well as the heart, to start receiving information, and it just comes in. Because I was raised in a very Catholic family, at least on my dad's side, didn't understand this stuff. My mom was wide open and she was an intuitive too. Poor daddy was surrounded by us. He's like, oh. But, he kind of had to get over that. Mm-hmm. But I went in the field of hypnotherapy as a result of having a stroke and being partially paralyzed and being told I'd be dead by the time I was 40. Well, y'all, I'm 71, so that didn't happen.
Right. They were wrong.
And so on this, happened to be living in a place in Virginia Beach, where they had transpersonal hypnotherapy, which then was clinical, but was a mind, body, spirit approach. Doctors told me I better find something to address stress. That happened to be it. And I thought it was all wonky cosmic foo-foo crap when I first went into it. And then I found out it's not. It's amazing. And that also heightens the level of your intuition, learning these skills. Sure.
Right.
And then when I got my master's in transpersonal hypnotherapy, which is a mind, body, spirit approach, we had to have regression work. And at the time I was not real sure, because I was taught, no, you die, you go to heaven, you go to purgatory, you go to hell. That's what I was taught. Not. And so with this, it was one of these things that, oh my gosh, it opened up all these centers for more intuition. And then I was able to study at Edgar Casey Center, which is in Virginia Beach. I studied with study groups with Sylvia Brown way back in the day.
I
Wow.
love Sylvia Brown. Yeah.
Oh, she's a hoot. Oh my gosh, woman's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
funny.
She is.
And I knew her before, like the big hair and the long nails and all that. But was in these study groups that she had put together, and it was to help so that I just kind of understand the gifts more. And it's like a muscle. The more you use that, it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And then about 10 years ago, science, because I was in nursing for a while and I'm a bit of a science nerd, our pineal, some people call it pineal, some people call it the pineal gland, is if you were to put your finger straight down the top of the head and then where you're right at the top of the ear here, and you go to a right angle, you've got a pea-sized gland with all these little rhombic crystals. They have found through science, those crystals are like little antenna. And they also say that that's the seat of obtaining some of this information. And it would be like if you're studying the chakras and into Reiki and healing arts and all that, it would be behind where the third eye is and straight back, middle of the brain area back there. And those are receivers. So I, as a kid, always knew that we were wired to receive information. I just didn't have to know the science, but that's the science beyond that. And so we all have that ability. It levels up when you take good care of yourself, when you're honest, when you're doing the right thing for the right reason, when you're taking time to meditate, when you're eating appropriately, trying to get enough sleep. And a lot of people that are in the service of helping others, like nurses, intuitives, readers, they level that up. And it's like little bright lights going on that just get all the information. That's how people do the automatic writing. That's how people in the service were able to find different areas in a whole nother country where we need to explore for safety. I've been asked to do that. I've turned that down because I don't want to do it. But we do this, and in hypnotherapy, it opens those centers up for most people. So does Reiki, and you both do Reiki, and so do I. The more you both and everybody out there, when you're doing a reading, you know the difference between intuition and behind your own thought. Now, intuition comes in, boom. You maybe haven't asked a question on something. You're sitting there, like I've been washing windows before, petting my cat, and all something just beams in. I call it beaming in or pinging in. And it's like, where'd that come from? Then I ask in my mind. And it's like when these aha moments, but when we're getting the intuition and the empathic stuff, we are not tied to all the emotion. If we're tied to something that's emotion initially, it's our own stuff, our own experiences getting in there. When I'm doing regression therapy, and I do it with my husband, I have scripting that we've done. I'm published in like 3 different books. I've written scripts for doctors, but when we're doing regression work, intuit the questions as well as what to ask our person that's with us. We do a full intake, and a lot of the regressions, they're never less than an hour and a half. I've had them over 3 hours before, some that were in depth. Yeah, real.
Yeah.
And so one of the things for regressions is to determine why am I in this relationship? What has happened in my life, or maybe somebody didn't get along with their mom or their dad, or their personality things that were going on. Those could be ancestral regressions, where you're trying to find the information from ancestors and why do I feel this way? Relationships, reasons, cause and effect, future pacing is one of the things to determine, okay, what do I do about this? And because I'm a retired trauma therapist as well as cognitive behavior therapist, I can pull in those skills. So after we have a regression, I'm able to dialogue with the person to say, what do you think about this? What's your feeling?
Oh,
and so we write all the questions down. I write all their answers down. And then after we bring them back up out of trance, and we're talking back and forth during the whole time, we then discuss the whole thing. I copy all the notes from the regression, give it to my client, and then we discuss them. And then during that time, very often they have a level up on their intuition during that time. And then I do too during that time. Information just feeds in. It's pretty darn cool.
And Nancy has a question. She says, do you have any recommendations for books or videos? Exactly for what, Nancy? Like for the past life regression or something else? Just want to make sure we're answering the right question.
True.
This could cover many things, my sister.
Sydney, I have a question for you, actually. For when you do hypnosis, do you find it some people go under easier than others? I always wonder if I can be hypnotized.
That's a really common question, Katrina. Pretty much everybody can be hypnotized. Some people it takes longer. And a person with hypnosis can never, there's so much misinformation. They can never do or say anything against their moral ethic code. When I'm doing a session too, unless I have written permission to share that, I really follow HIPAA regulations.
Yeah.
Because it's very personal and very private, especially when I'm doing trauma work.
Right.
And then with this too, there's books by Dr. Alan Chips. Henry Bolduc is another one, Dr. Henry Bolduc, that talk about hypnotherapy. There's a lot of books that you can look up on Google that have information on that, and tons of books out there. The books I have are so thick because it's real technical, the stuff that I went into and all that.
Right.
But there's a lot, well, yeah, because I had to study medical and all this other stuff too.
Right.
But there's a lot out there that's really good. So if somebody does have a question, they can call me or text me, and then I can get information for them. But Alan Chips, Dr. Chips is really good. Bolduc is another one that's extremely well known. Erickson is one of the old timers that isn't around, Milton Erickson, that studied and went into the field of hypnotherapy. So there's a lot of information out there, tons, and more science still coming out that also explains how we receive the information, how we process, and then what to do with it. So it's a detail. I mean, I've been studying this stuff, 20 plus years.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and I'm so grateful for you for doing this, because it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of knowledge you need, and you learn as you go too. You learn new things, and I bet you hear some really interesting stuff too. People have really interesting past lives.
And I've done some what they call the future pacing, and instead of a regression, into progressions where actually a person met their fiance that way. We got the name of the person. Wow. I got this name of the person, intuited that name, and they're like, I don't know this person. It's like, well, you're going to. And months later, she didn't even remember we'd written this down. She pulled her paper out. She says, oh, I met him, and they're engaged now. It cracks me up. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's so pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that would love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in physics, if you think about physics, our time life on Earth, when most people look at time, they see a linear line from the beginning point to the middle to the end.
Right.
Time in physics is more of a spiral, and it's a wave like this.
Yep.
And it all overlaps. And for anybody that sees spirit, like when we bought our house, I was told, because I was a social worker, and they're like, you have X number of dollars. And I was doing self-hypnosis, because all hypnosis really is self-hypnosis, because you agree on what you're going to take in and what you're going to filter through. I had been praying for a 4-bedroom house, and my friend, because I worked with Catholic Charities and all that, so about the poverty budget.
Oh yeah, I know Catholic Charities.
And so anyway, it's like, well, we need this house because I have family all over the country here, and I want this to be kind of their homestead, a place they can come home to. So I'm praying the Lord's Prayer going down the street to visit my friend, and I hear in my head, turn left. Well, my husband knows, and I was kind of like doing self-hypnosis at the time, and okay, give me what's going to come in that's going to help. So we turned left, and these are houses that are not too far up from the lake and almost towards Lawrence Park in Erie. And so as we're turning, my husband's, well, put that idea aside because beer budget and champagne taste. I'm like, we're having a 4-bedroom house with a deck. I had drawn the house it's an English Tudor style built by a doctor in 1931. A neighbor across the street was putting a sign out for sale, and it was cheap. We pulled over. It needed so much work. I mean, the grass on the side was like 2 feet tall. The backyard needed work. Parts of the house needed painting, needed a new roof. I can work. I'm a worker bee. I can replace floors and do all that stuff. And we got the house for next to nothing. Seriously, next to nothing.
And it looks great too. You're pushing
You've
your
seen a
garden.
picture of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
And we've done tons of work on it. And I have 2 sons that are in building trades anyway. And the guy that was putting the sign out said, well, it hasn't been listed. I was drawn to a little stone, speaking of, the hypnotherapy and claircognitions and all this, that said plant flowers in my garden. I looked at that. It was in the front. I said, will you call the owner right now and tell her I'll plant her flowers? And Katrina's seen pictures online. I mean, our yard is like a garden in the spring and summer.
Yeah.
And she sold us the house right then.
Wow. Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
So that's a universe thing. That's what people would call a love thing or a God thing.
That's what I say. Yeah. God winked.
You got it. And so we got this house, on the phone, and she gave us this price, and it's like, we're in. And at the same time, our neighbor, who owns a huge house down the street, and the guy has tons and tons of money, called her up because the sign was there, but it already sold because we bought it that same day. And he offered her like $35,000 more for the house. And he knew it still needed a lot of work. And she said, no, because I'm giving this lady's going to buy my house and plant flowers.
And love it. Yeah. And love it. Yeah.
So the universe opens those things up.
For sure.
And do you have questions?
Yeah, actually, I was kind of trying to, you can kind of explain what past life regression is for those who might not understand what that is or what that means.
There are many, many people, more depending on different religions like Hindu and Buddhist and even in, the Christian faith. There's parts in the Bible that talk about actually being here before and coming back. In a past life regression, we do an intake on what is your goal of the regression? Is it to find out about, is it curiosity to see what lives you possibly lived in the past? Is it to find out about relationships you're having now and why maybe one of the things we get fairly often is why people don't get along with their mom or why they were raised with certain siblings and there's been fraction since day one. There's been friction and people not getting along. Why did that happen? So it sheds light. I've worked in cases too with past life. I had a person who was afraid anytime someone would reach out like this, they'd back up, and it was because of a rape in the past that ancestrally had passed down through the line, and that hadn't been cleared because we hold things in there's theories on this, on a cellular level is one, ancestral memory is another one. And so there's different theories on that. And I don't go necessarily real deep in the theory because the feeling is what the feeling is. And they need to find out how to work through this stuff. Now, it doesn't remove the fact that something happened. It changes the perception of it. So it takes the fear and the power out of whatever happened.
Nice. Yeah.
And
because we can't change the past, but we can change how we view it. And that's just, it just helps you be able to, even sometimes just putting a light on something, being like, that's why I do it is a big help.
Yeah, putting a light on it and then helping a person to change their thinking about it. And by changing our thoughts, they have found, I don't know if you've heard of Greg Braden. He's an amazing
Yes.
scientist. Yeah.
Yep.
And he talks about the heart and brain coherence harmony.
Yep.
Well, the hypnosis, when we're doing regression, automatically puts it in that coherence where we're, instead of being stuck up here,
Right.
we're
Right. You learn
feeling and we're
Yeah.
sensing and we're working it all out.
Mm,
And that energetically affects every single cell in the body, every
For sure.
cell.
for sure. Yeah. That's awesome.
One of the things we've learned too with the science part of this during a regression and also regular hypnotherapy for pain management or dealing with anxiety or testing or anything that, or fears is a big one too. When a person starts to relax and goes from an alpha brainwave pattern to a theta, there's over 2,000 neurobiochemicals that are released that our own body makes, and they're all healthy.
You're
And
right.
and it's a huge immune system boost. So that's even outside of gaining the information. It's what we're
Right.
doing to help rewire and level
Wow.
up so our cells, our organs, our systems, our glands try to work together in harmony for healing.
Right.
And we do that on our own by just changing when we start to relax and we get calm and we get in that brain and heart space, that coherence. Where the
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
work together. So that also happens during the regression, which is super cool.
Yeah.
It really is super cool. Now, how often could someone get a regression done?
There's no one answer for that. I've had on my own 5 regressions, and just
Wow.
out of curiosity, different things
Yeah.
I was looking for answers for in my life.
Could you
Some
talk
people
about
just,
some of that share some of that with us even?
sure, I'd be happy to. So very often I've had clients that I've known for a number of years, and most of them have gone maybe 2, maybe 3 over a period of like 15 years. And I keep my prices down. I mean, I know people that have about the same level of training because they even started doctorate work on this. They charge 500 a regression. I'm not anywhere close to that because I
No,
think it's
you're not.
wrong. Sorry
Yeah.
about that, people. If you want to charge that, adios. You're not in my storybook.
Right. No, you can tell your prices too, like what you charge and stuff. That's totally fine here. 'Cause I want people to get a hold of you. So
Okay, for the regression, it's 125.
I knew that.
And-
I knew she was going to say that. I'm like, it's going to be $125.
You're right.
I don't know why.
And that's insane for the level of
It is.
training. And I have people that have this training that say you're undercutting us and why are you doing that? I don't give a crap.
yeah,
You're not in this to get rich. You're in this to help
I'm
people.
in this to do spirit's work. This is
exactly.
I'm in there to do what I agreed to do on my path. And if somebody else doesn't like it, I honor them. It's fine. Do what you want to do, but just let me do my thing. I'm going to do my thing anyway because I'm old. So get over it.
Yeah,
Can I ask a quick question? Do you do these distance like by video, or do you have to be in the same room?
I have. I just recently did one to, I won't give the person's name, but they wrote a book on regression, and she lives in Canada, and she said no one's been able to get her deep enough to where she got the answers and information that she was searching for. And I did a session for her, and she said it was the best session she'd ever had. And she's a trainer,
Right.
and it was all on Zoom. It was all on Zoom.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
90% of what I do is all distance, Reiki readings, all the different stuff that I do is almost all distance.
Well, because it's all energy, and energy is universal.
Yeah. Yep.
And people don't understand it is. You don't have to be face to face. Remote healing through Reiki is powerful.
Yep.
It is. Yep. Yeah.
And I do really most of mine face to face. I do some things on Zoom. I probably, could do a whole lot more. I just don't because I've pulled back a bit. I mean, I used to be super, super busy and getting calls night and days for readings, especially in the medical community or people that, wanted a little bit of direction health wise. I've pulled back just because I have grandkids and things. I'm working at a mental health / wellness clinic 3 days a week as a consultant, so I'm busy. I have been to hospitals before, asked to come in and do Reiki pre and post-op, which they agreed to, which was cool. But I'm also at this point in my life trying to get more of a life.
I feel that.
Independent of my work, you know. And then too, y'all are younger than I am, and I'm happy to just like pay it forward and say, I know this person that does that. Because if I'm, well, seriously, it's true.
Oh,
and
I send all my friends to Katrina.
That's cool.
And my coworkers. When my coworkers ask, I
saying.
send them to her. I'm like, listen, you know what? This is one job, and I'm not comfortable mixing the two because I know these people's spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I have somebody who's amazing and awesome, and her beliefs align a little bit more with yours. So I'm going to recommend that you go to her. And they do, and they were thrilled. And, you know,
and that's perfect. Good. And you know, you intuit that, and you know, and Katrina is very gifted, and people are all gifted in their own way. And, you know, it's all about helping one another.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
And she has turned me on to opportunities, and we give it back and forth because it's not, it's for me, it's not about the money, you know. It's
I think I give more away than I make.
It's not all about it. It's money's nice. We have bills to pay. And no.
I'm the same way. I just like.
You're gonna hear some husky sass in a minute.
We had a husky. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know she wants treats, and she's like giving me the side eye.
Well, that's what they do. But to get back to the regressions, it's to provide answers, clarity, direction. The greatest misconception that people have coming in is they'll think I'm supposed to have a certain bit of information, and they might get something totally different. They're going to get what they're supposed to know and where they are at that time. One of my most interesting was with a gentleman who was a fireman. And this was out of town. I was doing that as a guest speaker, and he came in. I heard your dog. It's cute. And so what happened during an hour and a half, he kept getting symbols. He kept going out in the universe somewhere where it was dark, and he kept getting colors. Now, he didn't know anything about the energy centers. He didn't know anything about Reiki or healing touch or any of that, and the colors that are associated with the glands and the organs and the emotions and all that. So as he's coming out of this, he says, I did a terrible job. I was out in the cosmos, and I'm writing all the questions down. What are you experiencing now? What next? What are you feeling, hearing, seeing? Is there anything, a sense of smell with this? If you were to draw this, what would it look like? And so I'm writing all this information down. Well, as we go, he said, I did a terrible job. I said, you did one of the best jobs ever, because then we went and we explored what these symbols meant, what the colors meant, what the ideas and the certain belts of Orion and different things like that, what they meant. And it was astounding. It was amazing. Wow. And so people go in with a misconception that they're supposed to get a particular thing. Go in with zero expectations if you can, and whatever happens is what's supposed to happen.
Open mind. That's why I tell people when I come here for the first time, you know, and I'll tell them keep an open mind, because it's not going to be what you're thinking it's going to be like. And
and you're right, because you're going to get through spirit what you're supposed to get.
Exactly. You're going to get what you need. That's what I tell people. I'm like, you might come in here expecting to talk about this, but they're saying, no, we got to work on this.
Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a fascinating field of study. More and more is being learned every day about that. And to think that, you know, one of the experiences, because you asked what was my experience. Well, I was, they asked for me to volunteer when I was taking the classes years ago. And it was the part of the classes to get the master's in regression therapy. And Dr. Chips, who was in charge of NATH, which was the National Association of Transpersonal Hypnotherapy, meaning body, mind, spirit approach, as well as the clinical, said, well, you're going to volunteer. And I was in a class with like 30 people. Well, if you just tell me I'm coming up there, I guess I'm really not a volunteer, but I did. It was, and I felt, and I didn't even really believe in it at the time. I did it because I knew that this coursework would lead into some really cool things. So I wasn't even open-minded at the time. I thought it was cosmic foo-foo stuff. And so I went in, and then as going into trance and we're talking back and forth, I saw in my head like the third eye area and felt myself as a Mongolian girl. And yeah, seriously, and I was about 12 years old, and I was in yak clothing, which is really weird because that was bizarre. You know, these big yak oxen looking things. And I was taking their fur and cutting it and making little bracelets. And my job in that life, it was sort of almost like a harem. I was taking care of the brothers and the sisters. And in that life, I was traded to a tribe. I mean, this is back in like the 1800s. I mean, way, way, way back.
Right.
And I definitely, you know, look like I was from ancient Mongolia.
Right. I don't to get traded. Like, I bet you were frightened. Can you feel like when you're seeing this, you feel things as well?
Oh, I was upset and shocked and didn't want to go and had no choice. But it was considered to be an honor, because by doing that, you're joining the different clans, and it was supposed to be an honor, sort of like a forced bride. But I was like 12 years old. Give me a break.
Right. And wasn't they did back then? I mean, Jesus was being forced into marriage when he was 13. That's when he took off. He's like, no way.
Well, yeah. Well, and so what happened?
Mary was 13, you know. So
yes. And that was, because the lifespan back there, you're lucky if you made it to 25.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And so with that, though, I didn't want to go. But then in the family that I was, one of the wives who ended up being a friend in this life was helping to introduce me to the tribes people. And she was very protective and telling the big honcho dude, you know, leave this girl alone because she's young. Well, he didn't. And at a young age, I got pregnant and then died from that placentia, you know, and I was happy to die. I willed myself to die to just get out of there. And I went through the experience then during this regression. That was like, holy crud. And it's like, oh my God, I'm dying, you know, and he's like, okay, distance yourself from the emotion and the feeling of that, and watch as if you're watching a black and white movie where you're looking at this and then pull way back if it gets too emotional. So I did. And it's like, oh, I wanted to die. I kind of was like really happy to be out of there. And so it took all the fear and the emotion out of it. And then I saw her, which was me in a life, go. And the sad thing, and then progressed as I was watching, the person that was supposedly supposed to be helping to save me was killed because she couldn't.
Oh.
And that was my very first regression. It's like, what the heck?
No doubt, that's heavy. That's some heavy shit.
Heavy.
That's some shit you see on TV.
That is heavy crap. That is heavy. So we dialogued about that a long time ago. And so his question is, the man who traded you, can you look into his characteristics, the eyes? Because of course he was Mongolian, looked way different than my husband at the time, who I later divorced because he had, you know, that problem. And he had been my father in that life who had traded me.
Yeah. That's what I felt it was going to be your dad.
It was. And it was okay. That makes sense.
Oh, the abandonment issues.
Big time abandonment issues. So I had to work through all those.
Yeah.
And, you know, luckily Dr. Chips and his wife, Dee, is still around. She's wonderful, Dee Chips. And we dialogued about that. And she was a social worker, nurse, you know, into the medical part of social work. And we dialogued about that. We're still super close friends. She's amazing. And that was heavy. And then the next one I had, I was a guy from Scotland who came. I was a guy, and his name was James's, which is so weird. And was in a flannel shirt and was killed in a mining accident. And I had moved here from Scotland and worked in the mines near Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And I died in my 30s. And that was
Yeah.
weird because I was a man with all the man parts and everything.
I know, right? Yeah, I know. That says
It's like, whoa.
can come back.
Crazy.
But it's a question: people can come back, male or female.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shelley has a question. She says,
Yes.
how many sessions does it take to see all your lives?
Oh, Lord, girl.
I don't think it's possible.
It is not possible.
That would take a long time.
It's estimated that we have more than 1,000 lives before we can reach that perfection. And in the Hindu, they say like 50,000. It's like, I ain't going there.
No.
So when you do the regression, which I mean, which one do you get to see? Does it start with the newest one or the oldest one, or
it's
just whatever you need to see at the time?
You got it right there.
Okay.
You're right on that. And when we always ask too, one of the questions is, what are you experiencing? What are you feeling? What are you seeing? If you're not seeing anything, take like a magnifying glass and put it in front of you as if you can look for details. And we remind them to take ancestors with them that they love, take angels if that's their belief system, take God, take your spirit guides, take whomever, your team with you for protection and so that you feel safe. And with this, you're guided the whole time and you're protected the whole time. And so when we're doing that, when they get, for example, if there's a purpose to that life too, there's a ton of different questions we ask. One of the things to determine if they're male or female, look down at your feet. What kind of shoes are you wearing? Are you wearing shoes? What color is your skin? What does the landscape look around? If there's buildings, what's the architecture? Are there trees near you? What kind? So we ask a lot of detailed questions. I mean, I have a notebook of questions that's probably 3 inches thick of different types of questions for different types of regressions. And then I intuit a lot of that, but there's no surprises for the people. And if they don't want to answer something, they don't have to, they have free will. And we don't do leaded questions like giving them the information. You want open-ended questions. And then towards the end, if they want out of that experience, do you want to stay in this and move forward in this timeline, or do you want to exit that timeline? Well, before we exit, what was the purpose? Always, what was the purpose? What did you learn from that? And how can it help you now? Wow. So those are some of the types of questions. And then we write all this down. Were there any similarities of the past to now? Were there differences from the past to now? And we write all that down. Who helped you in that past that you might recognize in some form or way of another now? So it's complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
Very detailed.
For sure. Extremely. I mean, and then even there, it can go, it has like tentacles. It can span anywhere.
Well, yeah. And there's life between life. Like, where did you go? Do you want to know where you went after exiting this life?
Right.
And then going to the Akashic records is another thing. If people want to do that, and what was your karma during that life? Karma isn't like reward and punishment. It's what did you learn? What were you supposed to do? What is the lesson?
Right.
And how is it going to help you now? So it is complicated in one level, but then also easy and direct in another. And I've had people go to 4 or 5 lifetimes. I've had some that stay with one. And then like that one gentleman just going through the cosmos, which was really interesting.
Yeah, no doubt.
Jeannie had a question, or Jean and Bess.
Jeannie. Yeah, Jeannie.
What is that, Jeannie? Okay. What is the process when someone books with you, Sydney? Do you jump right into the session?
No, I don't jump right in. I'm a skilled clinician. I'm a therapist by trade, by my education. So I do a big intake ahead of time. I explain the process thoroughly on what they can sort of expect, even though it's a little bit different with each person. I get their background as if it's like a medical intake kind of thing. What do you expect out of the session? We talk about what happens. Let's say someone shut down an experience even in this lifetime, and I've had this happen, where they were raped by a step grandfather. And then all of a sudden it comes up during the regression because you don't know what's going to happen in your mind. We put, if something happens, that it's called an abreaction where you relive this. This is how, when I sense that, because I can tell by what's happening with the facial muscles, there's a lot to this. By their breathing, if they're starting to live the awful experience, like which I was going to when I was the Mongolian girl, dying, from bleeding to death. There's techniques you go to bring them out of that so that they're not traumatizing themselves. Plus, it's not necessary to re-traumatize and relive an experience. It is just stupid.
Right.
That is not a good thing to do. You want to be able to understand what happened, but to not have the strong emotion and the trauma to your heart center and your gut, because it affects us at every level. So I talk to them, if this happens, this is how we're going to address it. And I tell them how you bring up above and watch like a black and white movie, or you can pull completely out of it, that they are in charge. We explain the process thoroughly. We usually do about an hour intake before I even do the session. And then the session, we do a guided imagery that we work on together and put together because it helps the person to relax. We also do a total progressive relaxation. I'm going to go into that voice a little bit right now. So this is what it's going to sound like. Take a few long, slow, deep breaths in. As you inhale, count to 5, and then exhale longer than 5. We're going to do that for a moment or two. Now at the top of the head, I want you to surround yourself with love, and we're going to start to relax at the top of the head, and silently in your mind's eye, tell yourself, relax. Bring serenity, love, peace, safety to the forehead. Continue to breathe deeply. If there's wandering thoughts, let them come in and go. Relax in the brow. Relax in the cheek. As you continue to breathe, bring yourself to a level of calm, loving serenity. Then I go down the rest of the way, and then I do a count back.
That was nice.
I was totally relaxing there, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, this is awesome. I can do this every day with
you. and then we go through at that part where 100 times deeper, more profoundly, feeling safe, loved, relaxed, secure. 200. And then we go on till it gets to 1,000. And then we go to the guided visualization. Then we go to the questions. So that's a process.
It is definitely a process, and it's a slow process. So it's yeah.
Yeah, I was starting to zone a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I myself, I'm just like, okay, this is.
I recognize that voice because Katrina and I both do that when we do guided meditation.
Absolutely.
And things like that. And it's like your voice goes down a couple octaves, and just becomes
instead of speaking from here, you're going diaphragmatic.
Right. Yeah. I call it my sex phone.
I was gonna say almost like
my husband calls it the sexy voice. You're right.
Yes, sexy voice.
So do my clients. Some of them, I'm like, no, we aren't going there.
Right? They're like, whoa, this is
like we are not.
This is new.
That's so funny.
But it's really neat. And then there's the pacing and the intonation, and there's different techniques. So to help a person to go into that, alpha and theta brainwave pattern. And then we also let them know that they're able to talk. Now, during this time, it's really kind of strange because once they get to that point, their level of their responses goes down about, it can be 10, 20, 30% in their volume. And sometimes it's almost a whisper. And so you have to ask them to bring their volume up as they're talking, and you let them know that they can speak, because we have to. It's back and forth dialogue when the questions are being asked. the other thing is they're only giving us about 10%. Now, this is really weird. About 10% of what is actually going on up here and here.
Right.
They're only
Okay.
sharing part of this. So
Oh,
people keep a notepad and more. I've had information come in on certain regressions that I had for myself when I was working with the doctors, that 5 years later, something came in. It's like, what did that pertain to? And there was, oh yeah, it's back when I was in that mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so information, sort of like peeling the onion, more and more information can come up.
wow.
Shelley asked, do you do the session in one day or multiple days?
It's one day. It can be from about an hour and a half to 3 hours.
Okay.
But they are also, because I'm there as a consultant, someone to help afterwards. If they have questions, because remember, they're getting the questions and answers handed to them that we went through and we dialogue afterwards. If they have questions later, I ask kind of, I guess you'd call my higher self or that intuition to click in to help answer those questions if they have any later. And there will be. There's always questions later.
I'm sure.
A lot of people will give me a call. What did this mean? And then we talk about it and we come up with it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing. An offer $125.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Sign me up. I'm in.
I probably should raise my prices.
No. Don't even think about that. Not after you take care of us. No.
I've been the same since 1998. Is that insane?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is insane. That is insane. But Sydney, why don't you give us how do we get a hold of you? I know we have on the bio, we have your number on the Metaphysical Parlor page, but if we could leave a number for people to get a hold of you or email.
My email, can I give it to you right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's I'll just spell. It's Amicucci. It's AMICUCCISYD, and just the number like 1, 2, 3. Don't write it out at Gmail. But the best thing, 1, 2, 3 at gmail.com.
I'm putting it on the.
Yeah, so it's Amicucci Sid 1, 2, 3 at gmail.com.
Got it.
Now, when I'm doing things for phobias, because I do a lot with that and pain management and so forth, those are $75 a session. But that can also be over an hour. And so I keep it really reasonable. But regressions cost.
I'm going to send my husband to you because he's in pain management and it's just ridiculous.
Well, I got into this after having the stroke at 36 and landing on my back and head and neck so many times that I've had spine surgeries. And I got hooked on, sad to say, hooked on pain meds a long time ago and got off of them. And that was one of the reasons I also went into hypnotherapy, was to help manage my own stuff. And then I learned that it helped a ton. So now, even though I have what they would call chronic pain, because I ended up with fibromyalgia. Yeah. I do self-hypnosis, and I've had spine surgery a couple times and just things going on and head injuries that it's amazing I can speak a sentence.
No doubt.
But it helps.
And this is why you do what you do, because you've learned to help yourself. Now you want to share that, spread
and
that.
That's why I do it, and that's why I keep it reasonably, because it really did save. It saved my life. I mean, I was ready to just say I'm done. It was that bad. But my cell phone is a good thing to text. Text is the best thing. And that's 814-504-1811. So people text me, and then they text me their questions, and I get back with them and set up a time where we can chat, on the phone ahead of time. And so I know what it is for the area of need. And I have a medical background as well as a psychology background and counseling, so.
Shelley asked, do you allow people to record sessions?
Absolutely. In fact, when I'm doing the sessions for pain management, for anxiety, phobias, all that, I always tell people have either a small tape recorder or If you have room on your phone, they just put it on video and they make sure they have enough space. Because at the wellness center, at the mental health/wellness center, I tell everybody that comes in and where they do referrals for me, I do them there, tape the session, because that way they don't have to come back, because they have all the stuff that's going to help with anxiety or fear or substance abuse or smoking or weight, whatever it is. And they can listen to that. And then in weeks come back if they want to. A lot of people don't have their clients tape the sessions because they want them to come again and again and again. That will create codependence on you. I want people to go and they have the tape. Plus, it saves them a lot of money. They're not having to come every single day to see me. And I've had a person, one of my clients was a multimillionaire. He was one of the people that developed Hooked on Phonics. And he's like, Sid, you're never going to get rich. And it's like, I don't give a flying fig.
Yep.
He says, your idea of wealth and mine are different. I said, yeah,
Exactly.
you got that right, bud.
Exactly. Yeah, because
when you're a true healer or a light worker, you it's not about the money. Yes, you need to make money
pay the
to
bills.
live, but beyond that,
yeah,
you're not here to get rich. You're here to help people and heal.
I'm here for service.
Right.
And he's like, but you could be a millionaire and I could put you on TV. They were going to actually do a radio show and have me on TV. And I'm like, yeah, goodbye. Nope.
Yep. This is our little radio show. We have 15 fans and we're famous. That's us. And we're okay with that.
But you know what? I didn't want to be on a TV show and have this Q&A all the time, because you lose the sense, or can lose the sense of self. Yeah. And then it becomes so commercial.
And you don't want to become a Miss Cleo, No
way.
We looked at like that.
No. And it wiped Sylvia Brown out. It really did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. You could tell. Anyways,
it exhausted her.
Yeah, it did. It really did.
And I, even though I was raised in California, I'm a farm girl. Give me my flip-flops, my tennis shoes. Let me play in the dirt.
Yep. I'm a simple girl. Yeah, simple. But I always feel too, God will humble you. Ego can get out of control too.
Oh, and I've seen it happen more than once.
Me too.
Yep. More than once.
Yep. And I've met some highfalutin mediums, and I was right away, I was turned off by them because I could tell it was all ego. They started out good intentions, but the TV glam got to them and just changed them.
It happens. Yeah. And it happens.
Celestial, hello. Thank you for joining us. Celestial is one of our friends from Louisiana.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Good to see you, dear. Light workers and healers feel the need to be in service and help others. Yes, we do. It's a calling.
That is a calling. And I call this my calling. It's my obsession. It's my passion.
Yep, mine too.
And I'm not opposed to having money. Obviously, I have to eat and pay house bills and all that.
I like things.
There is, but I'm not one of these people that's ostentatious. Money, you need to pay the bills. I don't live to earn the holy dollar. Once you start worshiping the dollar, you've lost who you are.
Yep. Exactly.
And I tell people all the time, the day I stopped worrying about money is the day I stopped having to worry about money.
Right.
It's there for what I need, and that's all I care about.
When there's been like our boiler broke and money came in to pay for that from a gift from a relative. We didn't look, we didn't ask. Boom, there it was. When we had car problems recently, all of a sudden I got all these calls on the phone to do readings from across the country, because I've lived 25 different places. And Sid, can you fit in this reading? Okay. And I keep them reasonable. And the money came to cover what I needed. It seems like almost 100% of the time where there's been a need, it's been met.
Yep, for sure. Exactly. It will be. Yep.
And I've been told by a number of people, you could be so well known and have your own show. And Okay.
I think
But
you are well known, though. You are well known, you know, and loved.
Well,
and
no, but the beautiful thing is that you know you are in Katrina's circle, and we have this wonderful little thing that we do because we want to share knowledge with other people that are struggling. Because we're self-taught, we didn't have any help, you know.
Yeah.
So the fact that we can bring you on and share you with other people who can use your gifts, that's why we do this. That's what it's all
Well,
about.
I really appreciate it. And I didn't plan on being a medical empath or writing books. Things just unfolded. They just sort of landed in my lap. I wasn't necessarily looking for it. I was born with this gift. There's sometimes, and you know, being in the work that you're in, it's a double-edged sword.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
beautiful, but it can also wipe you out energetically. So you have
yeah.
to really take care of yourself.
For
Yep.
sure.
And I'm hear that, Katrina?
I'm getting a pedicure on Friday.
And hear
But
that, Karen, you got to do that because
yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't, it will come up to bite you. And doing the work, because so many of our people out there too, they're empaths. They may not even know what an empath is, but they're feeling the environment
Yeah.
around them. And especially since, you know, a few years ago with the pandemic hitting and all this,
Mhm.
there's been through the ethers this panic and this feeling of heaviness. And people don't realize, well, number one, they're picking up the energy and they may not even know it. So what are you going to do to counteract that? Are you meditating? Are you eating okay? Are you calling a friend? Are you doing self-care? I'm not real good on the self-care all the time. Everybody
neither.
that knows
Me
me
neither.
knows that. And so we all need to help each other in that
Yes.
aspect.
Yes.
We do.
And
Heidi
then,
says she wants to have a regression, but it scares her. How can you help
it
allay her
scares
fears?
everybody. It's safe. It's safe. Nothing is going to come through that is harmful. I can tell you that nothing's going to come through. And that fear, remember, fear is false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
And so fear simply means that there was lack of knowledge about it, which is common. I mean, who's going to study this stuff? It's not like they start teaching us this in first grade. You know?
Right.
And so that's common to have that apprehension. That is common. It's
Oh, not
really
me.
a
I'm super
beautiful thing
excited.
because you get answers. You get answers. And a lot of the readings too, they're fun. And it's like connecting the dots in your life is how I look at it. And for the regression, reading stuff will come in. It always comes in for me. If people are open to that, I offer to share it. If they don't want me to share it, I don't, you know, because it's a matter of respect for that person too. But I'm always giving information just like you guys are.
And you do group sessions too. So if people are a little scared to come in by themselves, you can do, because you've done Cauldron and Thorn. You did an event there.
I just did one recently, and it was wonderful.
I love
now,
Cauldron.
a couple people said that they had a couple things that were dark come up, and we talked about that. And then how are you going to handle that? If there is a memory that you think was in the past that's hanging with you now, okay, what do we do? And we do that privately, that talk afterwards, to then dissociate from that, to put it in its proper place, and to work through what it meant and why you had that memory and what you can do about it now to eliminate and reduce that so it doesn't come as a stumbling block now.
Yeah.
And so we do that part privately. But it was neat. They had, I had colored pencils, I had pens, I had drawing paper, I had little composition books they could write in where they wrote about their experiences or drew a picture about it. And then those that were willing to share, shared it. And then we dialogued about it. And then I gave some readings on top of that.
That's awesome. I
was
know.
fun.
I wish I didn't know you. I would have been there if I known you. I didn't hear about it till later. And then I was like, oh, damn, I would have so been there.
Well, I'm thinking I've got to talk to the owner of Bowl and Coffee, which is the cutest gift shop on 8th and Beverly in Erie. And it's a gift shop where there's handmade items, and she sells different types of coffee in there, but Bowl, B-U-L-L, because she brings in her miniature French bulldogs. And she has different functions there. And I'm going to ask Deb if I can do one there for regression and for readings, because she'll organize her space and put tables and chairs around. So I want to get one doing that. And then I want to also do one, I'm going to do one for the sound bowl healing.
Nice.
And when I do the healing sound, I do a meditation with it, and then readings always come through too. It's my breath. It's what we do.
And you're so good. I mean, this is
there's a little coffee shop at the end of the plaza by where our clinic is, and I'm doing a group Reiki next weekend.
I love group Reiki.
And
oh man, I want to be there.
I love doing group Reiki, but I wanted to do a reading thing, but her husband is a minister, and she's like, listen, she's like, we were at a picnic and we posted on Facebook that we were sitting there enjoying a beer, and we got backlash from the congregation. She's like, okay. I can't post anything that would be considered, I said, demonic. And so she's like, well, I'm like, I get it. I understand. I appreciate you letting me do the Reiki here, and we'll just go from there. So
what do you think Jesus did? Come on, people. It was laying on of the hands. That goes back thousands and thousands of years.
So the Reiki I can get away with, but not the tarot.
But it's only a tool. It is only a tool. It's
but
used
so many
as a
people
storybook.
Still don't get it.
Well, that's that's lack of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I've had actually even priests come in for readings. I've been invited to a couple churches, because here's the thing with this. When we're doing the tarot, it is simply using those symbols. What I do is I intuit it. I took a class by Justine Alessi, who lives in Ohio, and found out she was a catechism teacher, which really cracked me up. And so she said, go in and use your intuition. And she was like, well, why are you here? I said, well, because I'm coming with my friend to just do this, and was curious. She says, you don't need this, but just learn some of the symbols if you want, read the book, get what you want, ask God what knowledge you want, and use it as a story. I'm like, okay. And so that's what I do when I'm doing tarot. But when we're getting the messages, when people read the Bible, there's 21 gifts listed in the Bible. Main one, knowledge. What do you think knowledge is? Hello.
Intuition.
Yes.
I never thought of that.
It's the gift of knowledge. Prophecy. Hello. Clairvoyant. Duh. These are all listed. The 7 big ones: discernment, knowledge, healing, prophecy, being able to be an orator. And there's a total of 21 gifts.
Okay. I've never read the Bible, so.
Well, I didn't until my friend who's a priest said, well, have you read much? Well, I went to Catholic school, but we just in church had Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John at the gospel, and that was it. And then I started looking these up, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's 21 gifts listed in the Bible.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, the Bible,
and it includes all the clairs,
chakras, energy. There's a lot of shit in the Bible. People just don't.
There's a ton.
Yeah, people just gloss over that shit, apparently.
Yeah, they do. And because they're not looking for it.
No, they're not looking for it.
And so being open-minded, but I had a priest. This is crazy. I had a priest that was an open-minded person point that out. And I'm like, what the hell?
That's awesome.
And it's like, that is so cool. And he says, well, start looking through it. It's like, okay, yes, sir. Yeah. And so, being open-minded means you're going to learn. And then you can discern, because discernment's in there too, on what is going to be helpful. The main thing too, when I had that near-death experience that came through out of that, because I thought there'd be like a long list of all the things that I did wrong. And it was when I was there, because I remember, because I was with my grandmother and we were just energy sources, and it was cause no harm. Love others, love as you should love yourself. Mm. And I thought when I came back and was hooked up to all these machines, how crazy is that? If it was pure love and we honor everybody and are there to help and cause no harm, there'd be no wars, there'd be no needs for the commandment.
Yep.
because we'd all have a cooperative, loving society, and it would be one of cooperation and instead of competition,
Yeah.
and we'd be helping one another, and
Yeah.
we'd be working as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that has stayed with me forever.
That's interesting.
Because that's what we're supposed to bring to the earth. That's my mission with the angels, is to bring peace to this earth, you know, by bringing kindness and mercy and grace. You know,
those are the Sisters of Mercy, calling it the compassionate present. It's kindness, mercy, grace, faith,
love, forgiveness, and acceptance. That's how we're supposed to.
Yeah,
that's how we're supposed to be.
Acceptance is a big one. I often have to remind myself even of acceptance.
Me
Not
too.
just
absolutely.
Just of myself. Sometimes I have to accept the fact that I'm not going to get my own way, and I have to tell myself it's ego, right? And I'll be like, okay, I've got to accept the facts here.
Yep.
I don't want to push it to get my, and I have to. You're right.
Well, that's part of being human, though, too.
For sure.
Who of us don't want our own way? I mean, seriously, we all do to a certain extent, yeah. And we have to remind ourselves too: are we on our own path that we're supposed to be on? Is our own way going to cause harm to us or somebody else? Is it selfish or is it altruistic?
Right.
It's about self-reflection, and we're human. We're not going to be perfect.
No, that's
we're
for sure.
Perfectly imperfect in our imperfection.
Yeah, true. That's so true. Perfectly put.
But we're who we're supposed to be.
Yep. Heidi said she's not scared that it's bad. She's just only ever known one person that she trusted to do a past life regression. I think we can trust Sydney. I'm feeling really good about her. I'm feeling really good about it.
I would lay on her couch right now.
Right now.
Right now.
I'm all in.
Come on there.
I'm all in.
I definitely want you. We talked before about bringing some people in. And and you had COVID. We're waiting for you to get kind of over that, but yeah, definitely I'm gonna be. Yeah, I'll get a hold of you, and let me know
if you're gonna do it. Let me know. I'll come down for the weekend and definitely be part of it. I only live 2 hours away, so I visit. I visit as often as humanly possible, so that I can spend time in her loveliness, because it makes me happy.
Yeah, it makes me happy too. We enjoy having you down.
We always have this has been so much fun. I cannot thank you enough.
Seriously. I can't thank you enough for doing. And definitely, I would love to have you come back. And talk about other things that you do, as well as the sound healing too. You do the sound healing. And
that would be fun to do, like a group sound healing thing.
That is so much fun. I'm going to start again at Prescott Mind Body Wellness, where I'm there as a wellness consultant. There's a ton of us over there, a lot of facilitators, and they're fun and good, trained, people, and in the right heart space. And I want to start doing, this would be after the new year, some meditation things and readings, which they said go for it, which is amazing at a clinic to be given the go ahead on that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. That is. That's,
Diane asked, where in the Bible did you find the list of those gifts?
Corinthians is in there. If she texts me at that 814-504-1811 and gives me her email, I have a whole sheet, and I don't have it with me. It's on my computer that I need to run off, and it lists exactly where in the Bible, what chapter, what verse, where these are. Corinthians, I know, has some. Genesis has some. It's throughout different aspects of the Bible, and there are 21 gifts.
Here, I just put on the screen Sydney's phone number, so you can text her in case you missed it, because it's pretty far up in the comments. And so you can write that down or scroll back through the comments to find them. This was awesome, because generally we do all the talking. So I got to sit back and shut up for once. And it was great. As much as I do love to talk, but I got to learn something, and I want to thank you so much. I definitely either want to schedule a regression or come down and do it with the group, whatever, we can work out. I definitely want to be part of that. And just thank you for taking the time to be here with us.
Well, I loved it. And it's, we're all helping one another, and that's the bottom line.
For sure. Yeah, I had a calling. I just been feeling like I need to get you on here, and it just worked out perfectly. I was so happy when you agreed to it. I'm like, yay!
Oh, I know. She asked me. She's like, "Is it okay?" And I'm like, "Anyone that you know that you want to bring on, it's always okay."
With this, you know, it's something I take extremely seriously.
Right.
And that having a compassionate presence whenever I'm working with people and coming from the viewpoint, not just of knowledge, but from the heart, from the soul, and helping them to find their way, as well as then having the background in psychology and sociology and all that. It just worked out that way. I mean, I started out to be a reading concentration teacher. This is the furthest thing I thought I'd ever be doing.
Right? No doubt.
That's so funny. I started out in peace, justice, and human rights. That was my bachelor's degree. And I ended up gravitating here. And at about that time, I had my spiritual awakening. And, you know, it just went from there. But I often think how amazing it is to combine the psychology and mental health training that we have with the spiritual training or the spiritual gifts. It's amazing that when you can combine the two.
Well, they provide insight and clarity, and also you're working on a higher level, bringing in not just the education and the textbook and the real life experiences, you're bringing in a different aspect that is of God. You know, and ultimately it's all from God anyway.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Pam. Thank you for watching too. And
yes, everybody, thank you so much for being here and hanging out and asking great questions.
So we really appreciate you. I'm going to see if I can read that last question. This is a great group. It's a fabulous group. I did ask a question earlier. I was asking Katrina, is there a way to listen to past broadcasts and all? And you said yes. So I'm going to be looking back on those.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. And then rewatch today's episode even too. You see more of the comments.
Yeah, they stay on. And I just started realizing I should use I have a YouTube channel. So that will stay there forever on the YouTube channel.
So that's cool.
Watch them on there as well. Under Purple Moon Sanctuary is the name of my group. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to do that. That's amazing.
Well, God bless and thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we're going to say goodnight then. And I thank you all so much for being here. Love you guys. Nice to meet you,
Bye-bye.
Sydney. I love you, Katrina.
Love you.
We'll be talking.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
For sure. Absolutely.